I'm Viggy Parhampton, and welcome to Tag Team Tales of Terror, where another horror author and I work together to create something short and diabolical. Today, I've tagged Caitlin Starling. She is the nationally best-selling author of The Starving Saints, The Death of Jane Lawrence, Last to Leave the Room, and the Bram Stoker-nominated The Luminous Dead, as well as the forthcoming The Graceview Patient, which will publish October 14th of this year. Welcome, Caitlin.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm really excited. I loved The Starving Saints, so let's see what creepy thing we can create together. You ready to go?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get into the rules. Tag Team Tales of Terror is a progressive story, so you and I will alternate telling bits of the story until we reach some sort of satisfying conclusion, whatever that looks like. We each will get 30 seconds, and I will have a timer in this corner over here, and I'll have a prompt that I draw out of this awesome hat here.
Okay.
And as my guest, you will get to start us off, which I'm sorry, that is the harder job, but I will follow your lead.
Okay.
And then, like I said, you might want a pen and paper to jot things down. And we're aiming for about 10 minutes, but if we're finished sooner, that's totally fine. If it takes longer, that's also fine. So after putting you through that, also, I will have a little surprise for you.
Okay. One question. Are we building the story like conceptually telling it to each other, or are we trying to tell it in voice?
It is whatever you decide. I have done both.
Okay.
So, like I said, you start and I will follow your lead and do whatever you want.
All right. I'm a bit terrified.
Don't be terrified. I've literally had no person ever bomb.
Okay.
You will be great. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's pull from the hat. Okay. A doppelganger has come to steal your life.
I wrote this book too.
Do you want me to pull a different one, or are we comfortable with this one?
No, it's just very funny. All right. Okay, I got it.
Okay, starting the timer, and here we go.
You are pretty sure that the doppelganger first showed up the day they took your ID photo for your new job.
Oh.
Is that enough, or?
We usually go for like 30 seconds, but that's okay.
Okay. You started seeing them out of the corner of your eye probably 2 or 3 days later, but they were wearing the exact thing you were wearing in your ID photo.
And every time you think you see them, you turn to your coworker, just checking to see if they're looking in the same direction, thinking, am I the only one who is seeing this? But nobody else seems alarmed. So you're left to reckon with the possibility, is somebody really there and nobody is acknowledging it? Or am I going crazy? Which wouldn't be that hard to do in this job where I'm sitting in a cubicle all day and all I ever see are these 4 gray walls.
Right. So you start hunting through the office. It's a pretty big office. It's a corporate job. There are a lot of cubicles. It's very easy to get disoriented. So you start making a map for yourself. And the map is pretty okay. It works. You're not finding any weird like discrepancies, but you are starting to realize that you might be seeing the same person more than once too. There might be other doubles walking around this office, especially the closer it gets to lunchtime.
So one day your coworker asks you to lunch and you agree because you're trying to, make a name for yourself in this office. And as you're sitting down, you're eating, and you decide to broach the topic. You say, Dan, I have to ask, have you seen anybody else that looks like you just kind of walking around the office? And Dan gives you a really funny look and he says, I actually have, and I thought I was the only one. I mean, what do you think could be going on here?
Trying to keep this from just becoming Severance. You show him the map and you say, this is a really big building. Like, I know at orientation they told us that this company employs a lot of people, but doesn't this seem like way bigger than what they would need for running a company that, runs the supply line for making office supplies?
And Dan nods and agrees with you. And then you say, there are some areas on my map that I haven't filled out yet. Would you maybe want to explore with me? I mean, I'm not scared to be in this office, of course, but having another pair of eyes just to make sure we're both seeing the same thing and cover some more ground would be really great. Do you think you'd be interested in that? Dan looks at you and says, "You know what? Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah. So you have to decide, are you going to do it during the workday or are you going to stay after work someday? And during the workday has its appeals. It has its appeal. You have been seeing this double of you while you're at work. You have no reason to think that it
Mhm.
doesn't disappear. Like, why would it be there at night? Um, the problem is though, you do have like it's been hard enough getting a way to make the map so far. And there's only so much time you can spend. You can say, oh, I'm getting my constitutional, I gotta get my steps in for the day.
So you and Dan make a plan. You're both going to say you have a doctor's appointment at 4:30 and you're just going to head off in separate directions, but really you're going to go downstairs and see what's happening on the lower floors because whenever you get to work, it's straight to the elevator to the top floor. So when the day comes, you and Dan take the elevator and instead of getting out on floor 1 to go to your car, you get out on floor 3. And as soon as the doors open, you realize that something is really freaky here.
Yeah, there's like a capsule hotel set up on this floor. The At first you're not sure that's exactly what it is, but there are weirdly laid out rooms where it's a very narrow hallway and thick walls on either side with little portals in set in these walls and little notches cut in so you can like climb up to the one on the third story or so. And the doors are keyed to a keypad or a scan pad. Take you would need to take your ID card and scan it to maybe open one of these. But again, you have no reason to believe that it would work for you because you've never been down here. You're probably not okay to, you're not logged in. But you think you can see shadows inside these cubbies, and even knowing that they'll be able to tell that you were down here because it logs when you scan one, it opens, and there is a head of hair in there. There's someone lying inside the little capsule.
And you take a closer look. Dan is behind you and he gasps. And then you see what he is so upset about because lying in the capsule is your coworker, Jessica. And you both know, you were just in a meeting with her not 15 minutes ago. How could this possibly be her? Now you're look at each other and you both have proof that you two aren't the only ones with some sort of doppelganger running around. And you move to the next capsule and you try to open that one, and as soon as the capsule lifts, you see Dan staring back at you.
And he seems a little bit disoriented, like he's just waking up, but he crawls out of the capsule, and there's no easy way to do it. There's no graceful way to do it. But he is dressed in the same clothing that Dan is wearing in his ID. That's the one thing that's always stood out to you. Your doppelganger, when you see her, is wearing that same outfit every single time. And when the second Dan pulls himself out of the wall, you realize that the fabric isn't quite moving the way it's supposed to.
And you reach out to touch it, even though Dan says don't. And as soon as your hand hits other Dan's shirt, it feels hard, almost like cardboard. But at the same time, he's three-dimensional. He's standing right in front of you. And you quickly look to the clock and you see that it is 4:58. You have never stayed in the office past 5 o'clock. And now you're starting to get really scared because other Dan reaches out to grab your Dan's arm and starts to pull him towards the capsule. And Dan is so surprised and shocked at what's happening that he doesn't even fight back.
Yeah, and now that you think about it, this company has a really strict policy on overtime. It's one of the nice things about this job is really serious about work-life balance and make sure that all of its employees are out the door by 5. Um, in fact, you're not even sure if your pass will work after 5 o'clock. They've said before that like, you can't really let yourself in to grab something from your desk that you forgot or anything else. Um, and you're stuck between trying to grab Dan and also trying to get out of the third floor and get back to the parking lot before the clock hits 5.
And Dan, meanwhile, is looking back at you and saying, "Chip, help me." But other Dan is pulling him closer and closer towards the capsule, and you're frozen to the spot. And just as the clock ticks over to 5 o'clock, you feel a hand on your shoulder.
You also feel weirdly tired and sleepy. Like the the fear and panic leaches out of your body and leaves you exhausted and heavy. And you start to understand why Dan, even as he's calling your name, isn't calling your name with that much terror. He's yawning. And as you watch, his doppelganger helps him crawl into the capsule. And it's awkward. He definitely doesn't have this experience that the doppelganger has in it, but it does fit him perfectly, which is not easy. Dan is not a small man.
And as you're watching this happen, you want to reach out, you want to stop it, but you're so tired, and all you want to do is lay down. And the hand on your shoulder starts gripping you tighter and tighter. And when it spins you around to look at it, all you can see is yourself staring back at you.
And your doppelganger is smiling. She doesn't seem angry. She doesn't seem scared or even annoyed to see you there. She seems very happy that you finally have come down to the floor. And she very, very casually, very carefully hands you up into your cell, which you find fits you perfectly too. Smells wonderful, has nice mood lighting inside of it. Or at least, that's kind of your last thought before you close your eyes and fall asleep.
That was great.
Yay. I feel like
Okay, that
I
was
just wrote
super
something for no sleep.
spooky. No, that was super spooky. I
Yeah.
love a creepy office horror. There is not enough of that.
It was it is definitely very funny though that I have also written a creepy doppelganger story and it's
I know.
um
Well, this one
but
was
yeah,
great. This one,
yeah.
and we have to come up with a title too. So if you have any
Oh,
ideas, throw them out there.
um shift change.
Ooh, I like it. Okay, that one was fun. I really liked that one. We were on the same page there. I could feel
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that was fun for you and not scary. Not in like the intimidating sense. Like, yes, I
Yeah.
want the story to be scary, but you know what I mean.
It was definitely challenging.
I think it's really good to get if you ever have writer's block or just feeling not very creative. I feel like it's a great way to just clear out the cobwebs from your
Mhm.
mind.
Yeah.
And after putting you through that, I have a little surprise for you as promised. And improvising a story always makes me really hungry. I don't know about you. So I have created a recipe just for you based off of the Starving Saints.
Oh boy.
So as I was reading the Starving Saints and thinking of what recipe I was going to make, I mean, I had a ton of inspiration for this. I mean, food or the lack of it is very central in your book. I considered something with a little bit more protein, but I decided that the honey element was just too sweet to pass up. So I made Phocine's Mad Honey Fruit Cake. And you
Ooh,
know the denizens of this castle love their honey, and our friend Trayla is always hoarding that dried fruit. So this recipe felt like the perfect marriage. It is a very straightforward recipe of almond flour, some spices, some eggs, that honey, of course, and some dried fruit, which we mix together, pop in the oven. We've got a honey glaze, and then it is the perfect treat to ward off both madness and starvation.
that sounds delicious.
It really was. I have recipe tested it, and it did not last very long in my house at all. And I will put this recipe in the show notes for those who find themselves starving after some great reading.
Sounds fantastic.
Yay! Well, where can people keep up with you and find more of your work?
I am most active on Instagram at author C Starling, and I'm also on Blue Sky at CaitlinStarling.com. CaitlinStarling.com is also my website where you can find information about upcoming events, upcoming books, fun little additional tidbits. Like for Death of Jane Lawrence, there are Dr. Avdotya Nizamiev's patient notes on Jane herself that you can
Cool.
find if you go to the page for the book. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And congratulations on surviving Tag Team Tales of Terror.